Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Leadership Void Podcast. I'm Enrique with my co-host Vince to bring you the best in our veteran, military, spouse, and first responder community. And Vince will introduce today's guest.
Thanks, Enrique. Guess what? We have with us Eric Brew. He's the manager of military engagement at American Corporate Partners, ACP, from Columbus, Georgia. Eric, welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about you.
Man, thanks for having me, guys. I am so humbled and so honored to be here. You guys got a great show. I love all the episodes. Like Vince said, my name is Eric Brew. I'm manager of military engagement at ACP. Guys, I'm just an old retired dude, man. I'm an old retired Army guy. Spent 25 years kicking indoors and chasing bad guys down. I was an infantry dude for 25 years. So, but I'm happily retired. It was nice to shed the rucksack. Now, man, I'm super stoked to be here. I've been in the veteran space now for about 4 years, so I'm really happy to be here.
And wonderful that not only did you kick down doors, but now you're opening doors with ACP. And I am so happy to have you on the show. But being a veteran, being an entrepreneur, being a businessman, we really appreciate that. So tell us a little bit more about this position as a military engagement at ACP.
Yeah, absolutely. So my whole job is to bring people to ACP. My job is to engage with our military community, military connected community, right? We service not just our veterans and our military who are transitioning, but we also service 3 populations of military spouses, right? So we take care of all active duty spouses, Gold Star spouses, and then any spouse of a wounded post 9/11 veteran. So, the idea for me is to get out into as many crowds and have as many conversations as I can. I think that's one of the reasons Leslie reached out to me and brought me over to ACP. Is I've got a big mouth and I like to talk. But it's super easy to be passionate and talk about a program like ACP's. Just the things that we're able to do. I'm a firm believer in the fact that nobody doesn't like us, and I love that because it means I don't have to compete with anybody. But the program is really cool. The program is exciting, and there's a lot going on. So, the military engagement manager I'm here to engage with folks and bring them over.
All right. And definitely, this is a different platform that you can engage with folks listening in on our wonderful podcast about what ACP is doing. And thank you for your 25 years of service and your 4 years as a veteran. So knowing that now you're in the community, how do you go ahead, or ACP go back and give back to the community?
So we focus primarily on mentorship, right? So ACP is a mentorship program. I would love to say that we're a placement agency or we're a staffing agency. We're simply not. We focus on the one thing we're really, really good at, and that's mentorship. The beautiful part is, though, mentorship, the byproduct of it every single day is actually employment. So it gets to be a really cool byproduct that we get to watch. But ACP gets into the community, the veteran community, like I said, veteran connected community, and we're here to provide mentors. We partner with roughly 125 large companies in America, Fortune 500, Fortune 100, even some Fortune 50 companies. The cool part is the mentors in our program are not ACP employees. They are volunteer mentors from all of those companies. So it's really cool to watch our civilian counterparts give back. The one thing that I love about our mentors is every time we talk to a mentor and ask them why they're mentoring in our program, the one thing they consistently say is, I want to do something more than just say thank you. They want to show that gratitude in action. And that's such a humbling thing to watch. I think the 3 of us can agree, and any veteran listening can agree, that we don't need handouts. If you just show me the way, if you just show me what needs to be done as I transition. I spent 25 years in the Army. I'm not going to undo a quarter of a century in a couple of days. It's just not going to happen. The transition thing is a process. It's not an event, right? So having a mentor that gets in your corner and really just kind of jumps in and helps ground guide you to where you want to go is just absolutely beautiful to watch.
Beautiful indeed. And I am a ACP mentor. So I wholeheartedly agree with everything you've said. It is amazing not only to see another service member come out and try to chart their way through, but having the opportunity to shorten their time on that journey through things that we have learned. So I really appreciate not only ACP, but what we do as mentors for that community. Now, what's on the horizon for you and ACP?
Man, we're constantly going 1,000 miles a minute, man. ACP has got a great team. We've got a great staff, and we spend a lot of time in strategy calls and trying to figure out how we can get into the next event. How do we get involved and in front of more veterans? I know that in 2023, we've got a massive initiative right now. It's heavy on our hearts, every single one of us, from our founder, Sid Goodfriend, all the way down to me and the rest of the team. But it's really heavy on our hearts thinking about some of our brothers and sisters who are not the retirees, right? Those first termers who are getting out, those E6s and below, the folks that are coming out, and it's not that they're less equipped, but they don't have some of the benefits we have, right? When I came out, I have a retirement, I've got my VA check, like there's a lot of benefits that I have after 25 years, and you get some young E4 or E5 that's coming out and they don't have those things. And so it's heavy on our hearts to reach out and make sure that we're engaging with that E6 and below population and getting them into a mentorship and getting them into something. Because the big misnomer, right? When you hear American corporate partners, and I talked about our corporate partnerships and all that, that's not all we do, right? That's not the only population. We're not just talking about corporate America. We're not just talking about white collar, right? We also have our citizens program, which is about 20% of our mentors. And those are individuals who are maybe school teachers, DOD employees, law enforcement, real estate agents, small business, you name it, right? There's a niche industry and we cover it. So all these folks that are coming out, that's the big thing I think that's on the horizon for ACP is this big push for the E6 and below population, trying to get in front of them, trying to get them to recognize the value of a mentor and the fact that they could really just use somebody to help them ground guide to wherever they want to go.
Absolutely. And I can attest, and I think all three of us can attest that mentors have really helped us mold us in the direction we're currently at and currently going, right? So thank you for everything ACP is doing for not only the E6 and below, but everyone else in that arena. So I appreciate all that you all are doing. So I see the background and we talk about leadership now and sharpening your axe. Let's sharpen your axe. What does Eric do to sharpen his axe in the professional lifestyle?
Oh man, that's such a big question, right? Because there's nothing you shouldn't do, right? I mean, I engage. My favorite thing is that I learned throughout my transition is I built what I call a board of advisors, right? We talk about having boards of directors and boards of advisors. I've got a board of mentors, right? I've got 5 mentors that I've engaged with, I've built, I've learned, and that I've empowered to hold that board position in my life. So as I'm making professional and even some personal choices, I can engage with those folks. I've got my buddies, right? I've got my peers, my peer mentors that I go to, and we'll collaborate and bounce ideas off of each other. But when it comes time to put rubber to the road and actually make a decision, I've got my board that I go to. And I'll be honest with you, my ACP mentor, she sits at the head of my board. That is the chair. That I have put her in that position. She is an incredible human being. And my mentorship is over. I'm an alum. And Gwen will forever be at the chair of my board of mentors. But that's one thing that I do is I make sure I still engage with mentors. I make sure that I still engage with folks that, can help guide. I always want my mentor to be a season or 2 ahead of me, right? I tell my daughter, I don't need her taking advice on dating from another 16-year-old kid, right? That would be foolish. I don't want her to do that. We need to get advice from people who are a season or 2 ahead of us. And so that's what I try to do. I'm also a big fan of jumping in and reading books. I love to absorb information. Although I will tell you, I've learned that I have to read off an iPad now. That old paper, because I can make the letters bigger. Really, let's just be honest. It's because I can make the letters bigger. I'm getting old, man. But I love to just devour information, right? And it's about putting yourself in the position to learn, right? I talk all the time about being the CEO of your transition. We have to be in charge of what we're doing. We have to take control of what we're doing in life and how we're making decisions in that. So I try to put myself at the point of most friction, like an old senior NCO, and figure out what's next and engage with as many folks as I can.
Well, what you devour is what you put out. So good on you for reading and getting that knowledge. As you were raising up in the military, all of us here on this episode have received from mentors, received from senior people, and advice that we have grabbed the hold on and said, this is going to take me the whole way. What are some of that advice that you may have received that you would like to share with a up and coming leader?
I think the most important advice I ever received in my military career, which I hold firm to, I'll put this advice in a rear naked choke. I ain't letting it go. All right. When I was being promoted to E5, I was being promoted to sergeant. My brigade sergeant major was there. And that man is John Wayne Troxell. So the former SEAC, John Wayne Troxell, good friend of mine to this day. But Sergeant Major SEAC walked up to me and he looked me in the eye and he said, "Young sergeant, don't ever forget where you came from." And that boy, and I don't know if anyone's ever spoken to Sergeant Sergeant Troxel. The man's got a stare, right? He just kind of permeates your soul. And I think that's what happened. I felt what he was saying, right? You're going to give orders someday. You're going to give someone instruction. Don't forget that you used to be the person that received instruction. So remember how you receive instruction. Remember how you felt when people treated you poorly. Don't ever forget where you came from. And I think that's important as we go through transition too. You know, a lot of folks talk about how you got to let your rank go and you got to let this go and you got to let that go. I don't think you do. I don't think you should. I think that's a part of who we are. And I think we should be proud of that. What I think we should do is learn how to be bilingual, right? We've got to learn how to navigate being a veteran. I want to stand around the fire with, you know, an adult beverage and maybe a cigar and talk stories with my buddies and reminisce on good times. But I need to be able to walk into the office the next day and be a good teammate and be a good, you know, manager, be a good person inside that office environment, which is not the same as the military. It's not that I want to let go of being a veteran. I just need to be able to work in both worlds. So I don't ever forget where I came from, ever.
I love it. You know, the whole thing about being bilingual is awesome, how it stuck to what I understood you mean. And talk about being humble, right? Don't forget where you come from. Actually, Enrique and I were talking about right before you coming on about being humble, and also don't forget where you come from, because yes, we all, some of us grow exponentially, and some of us do forget where we came from or don't give back to those who are starting out. So continue that great advice, folks. You will go great levels in your career and in your team to validate what you're doing. So Eric, let's talk a little bit about memorable leadership aha moments. Anyone you would like to share with our audience today?
I'm a big fan of learning from my failures, right? I would love to say that I've walked this earth and been a great leader my whole life, but that's just simply not true, right? I've made mistakes. I had a situation at one point when I was a young senior NCO, a platoon sergeant, and I had a young soldier that commander came to me and told me that I had a soldier that had lodged a complaint against one of my squad leaders. The soldier was being verbally abused by the squad leader, and I didn't know. And that was, I think just that simple sentence, I didn't know, is what broke my heart. Because I realized that I did not have a thumb on the pulse of what was going on with the people that I was in charge of. They were in my charge. They were under my care. And there was something happening just one level down from me that I wasn't aware of, that I wasn't paying attention to. And so that was a catalyst for me to ensure that I got out from behind the desk every day and I went and I talked to my soldiers. I went and I had conversations with folks. I got to know them and I understood what it meant to really, really engage with and be a part of the team, even though you're the leader. As a leader, you've got to be a part of the team, right? You've got to be a part of the team, and empowering your people and encouraging them and growing them. That's something that's on us to do as leaders. And so I think that's probably the most pivotal aha moment I've ever had. It was quite frankly one of my failures.
That is so impactful. As leaders, we have all been in that seat where something has gone on and we didn't know. And the fact is just that, right? Get out, get about, know your people, even to the point where you can look at somebody and say something's off. And that takes a lot of intention. That takes a lot of deliberate engagement. So thank you for sharing that, because that is a great leadership learning moment. And many of you listening may be there. So take it take it from Eric, right? You can learn the right way or you can learn the hard way, one of the two. There are certain strategies. You talk about getting out and about, but there are certain strategies that we use with our teams to deal with change and challenges that come by time and circumstances. What are some of the ways or strategies that you have implemented that you would like to share with everyone?
I think when it comes to challenges or when it comes to hardships within an organization, I think it's very important. And that's where it's the I'm a part of this team too mentality comes in. I don't care if my team fails. We're going to fail. We're not always going to get it right. We're going to fail, but we're going to fail forward, right? We're going to fail trying something. So if we see a challenge, we see something that's not going right, we're going to try a new methodology. We're going to try a new tactic. And if it fails, the worst thing I believe a leader can say is, this was your fault, right? No, it's, hey, let's try again. Let's try again. It's okay. Let's try again. We talked about getting out from behind the desk. I think one of my favorite things to do with my teams is, and it's hard now because I'm virtual. This is new for me. Like this remote role is a little different for me because I'm used to having a 70-30 rule, right? I had a 70-30 rule. As a matter of fact, it started the day after that incident. My 70-30 rule became I spent 30% of my day behind the computer. I spent 70% of my day with my soldiers. That's what I did. If I had to work late after they went home to do my computer work, then that's what happened. But while they were there, I was out with them. So that type of stuff, but when we face challenges, it's so important for the leader to sit down and be amongst the team, right? The leader that's screaming from on high, all the things that need to get done, and then closing themselves off in their ivory palace they're not a part of the team. They're not helping. And I understand that not every leader can get out there and be a part every day, but you've got to engage. You've got to engage, you've got to empower, and you've got to set people up for their own success. When you set individuals up for success, when you empower individuals, it creates an environment and a culture in your organization of growth. And when we grow together, the whole organization wins.
Absolutely. It's like throwing that pebble in the pond. That ripple effect it creates is so important, so pivotal. So get from behind your desk. I love the 70-30 rule that you have in place. Folks, listen, that's great advice. That's great tactics. I hope you engage in that and engage with ACP because you know what? Mentors are there for you, for your growth as well. So folks listening in, how do they get a hold of you, Eric, or ACP?
Well, let's start with ACP first, because as much as I would love to say, break my own arm saying it's all Eric over at ACP, I'm a small man on the totem pole, but it really has nothing to do with me, right? The success, the team loves sharing successes of our proteges and bragging on our mentors, but it's not us. It really is these mentors. It's folks like Enrique. It's the folks that provide that invaluable industry experience. It's the folks that provide that perfect timed perspective, right? That just says, oh man, I didn't even think about that. So first, let's start with ACP. Everybody can go to www.acp-usa.org. It's a great website. Go check us out. There's a lot of things on there. There's applications for veterans, for spouses, and for our mentors. We'd love to have more mentors. But there's also a whole bunch of stuff. All of our past events, we do webinars once or twice a week. So all of those are on there. You can go back and rewatch them. There's a lot of opportunities to engage with ACP. You can go to LinkedIn and follow us on LinkedIn. We also have this thing called ACP Connects, which is a great closed group. We have about 11,000 folks inside that page. Our mentors come on there, our proteges, our partnered companies will drop job announcements in there. So there's a lot of great opportunity for engagement there. For me, you can always connect with me on LinkedIn. I'd love connecting with folks on LinkedIn. I was telling these two gentlemen earlier today, I'm a sucker for a great conversation and a great cup of coffee. So, I love to talk with folks and engage. So you can find me on LinkedIn, or you can email me at ebrew@acp-usa.org. But that's the simple way to get a hold of us. But the fact is, and I'm going to give some old sage first sergeant wisdom real quick. 100% of people who don't start something won't finish it. So if you find yourself in transition, if you find yourself looking for a new position, if you find yourself just needing mentorship in any area of your professional life, you cannot become an alumni of the program if you don't first do the application. So I implore anyone who's listening, just jump on the website, check it out. It's free. It costs you nothing. Free 99 is my favorite price. So, it costs you nothing. You get on and engage with an incredible mentor for a year, someone like Enrique, get on there and just glean some incredible information from them. So please join us. Come hang out with us. We'd love to take care of you and add value.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And we will make sure to put that as part of the video and show notes so they can get a hold of you, ACP, and all the great mentorship that's provided there. It has been one of the greatest things I've done post-service, and I'm so happy to have done that. Folks, if you want to get a hold of the Leadership Void podcast, theleadershipvoid@gmail.com is where you'll send that correspondence. We'd love to hear from you. Any comments you have on the show. Maybe you want to see a guest or have Vince and I cover a leadership topic through the show. We'd love to hear from you via that way.
Absolutely. And also, we're just so proud of our sponsors, VEI, FAVOB, and Triple Nickel. Guess what? We're wearing new attire from Triple Nickel today. It's very great texture. It's breathable. It's very cool. You need these shirts, folks. We're going to drop in a link, a way to get a hold of these shirts through Triple Nickel too. They definitely have some great apparel that you should check out. But today is all about Eric Brew and ACP. mentorship is where it's at, folks. Hopefully you connect with them, because the hardest step is that first step, as Eric mentioned. But thank you, Eric, for chopping it up with us with coffee conversations. Again, great endeavors in your future, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate the time.